Welcome to our Facebook and YouTube exclusive review, overview, and discussion of Justice League number 1 and Justice League number 2. We're ready to cover the whole big group, the Justice League, number 1 and number 2.
Yep, the A-Team.
The A-Team,
yeah.
the Magnificent Seven, or whatever they're going to be called, or
yeah, however many of them there are,
yeah. Yes. So let's get to it. Justice League number 1, The Extinction Machines Part 1. Massive earthquakes hit all over the world. The members of the Justice League respond to the emergencies. People are coming out of the rubble with red eyes, calling themselves the Kindred. In Gotham, Batman is diverted by an alien ship in which an army of insect-like creatures emerge. The Kindred surround and speak to different members of the Justice League about an awakening. That is, it is their time and League members' powers are stolen. Well, the Kindred looks like a new type of enemy for the Justice League.
Yeah, and this looks like a lot going on all at once.
Yeah.
With earthquakes and aliens landing and then the people getting possessed.
Yeah, so
the Kindred.
I don't think they're a new enemy for the Justice League as much as it's some type of entity for the Earth itself.
Yeah, and it's interesting what they discuss because they say, you know, those are our words, those are our powers. To the Flash, they say that's our speed.
Yeah,
you know,
stolen
you've taken
speed,
our speed.
Stolen words, stolen powers.
It's like, are these like, you know, old elder god type creatures that created some of those concepts and gave them to us, or is this something completely different?
Well, one thing too is they called Wonder Woman a pretender god, and that she didn't really know who she was.
Yeah.
So could that kind of tie into the Wonder Woman series at all?
Yeah. It's the only other reference I've really heard to Wonder Woman's ongoing series and her not knowing about her past.
Right.
And especially if they call her a pretender god, this would make these, roughly deity-like figures. But exactly whose deities and, you know, what are they? That's more what I want to know.
Jessica Cruz in the Green Lantern comic starts out not very confident and can't even make constructs. Just Justice League, she finally seems useful.
Yeah.
Finally, so when she's calm and collected, do you think her intellect kind of makes her stand apart with this team with her and Simon Baz?
I think so. Baz doesn't strike me as the sharpest tack in the tool shed. He knows what to do. He doesn't necessarily know to create a false shore so that a tidal wave will dissipate farther out at sea.
Well, Legends of Tomorrow and Prison Break, they had that dynamic with the two actors. You had Captain Cold and what was the fire person's name? Heatwave. And then in Prison Break, you had the brothers, the same actors. So you have the brains and you have the muscle. And I think that's kind of what you're going to have with these two Green Lanterns. So it's nice to see Jessica Cruz thinking and then Simon kind of going with it instead of reacting first.
Yeah. So we do get kind of the irony that the one who can think, about these, comes up with the good ideas, can't create those ideas.
Yep.
And the guy who can create those ideas doesn't necessarily think of those ideas till someone suggests it.
Well, speaking of heavy hitters, Superman's in the issue, but he's kind of taken a back seat in a limited role in the first Justice League.
Yeah. I did enjoy the red streak flying next to the Batplane. That was great. And Batman just says like, he's here. He's doing stuff. And Cyborg's giving kind of the reports of where he is.
Yep.
He just did this, he just did this, he just did this.
Cyborg's kind of like the all-encompassing information center of the Justice League. This is where you need to be, this is going there, Flash, you're coordinating this. I've got pop-ups everywhere coming in and the information broker with the Justice League.
Sort of like the successor to what Oracle did for a lot of the Gotham side heroes. And she did that for the Justice League briefly, but at least that, I'm glad Cyborg is doing that, because that was a niche in the DC universe that really needed to be filled.
Yes.
To have someone coordinating all this stuff.
Very much so.
Whether that was Alfred or whoever, but it needs to happen.
Before we talk about Justice League number 2, Aquaman, he didn't look good for Atlantis. Looked like it caved in on and crumbled down on him.
Yeah. And I'm very interested to find out about what do they call them? The Zodiac crystals. Mm-hmm. It looked like Aquaman took quite a beating from that. I mean, that makes me wonder: was it just something collapsing on him? Was it someone attacking him? Was it more of this buzzing that he's heard before?
Yep.
So we'll see.
Well, let's see right now as we get into Justice League number 2. Justice League number 2, The Extinction Machines Part 2. The Kindred continued to surround members of the Justice League, Simon Baz and the Flash. When they grab and touch Baz and they grab the Flash, an energy reaction happens that brings the people out of their trance. Flash runs to Gotham to help Batman out with the insect swarm. Aquaman is alive, surrounded by the crystal stones. And at the Watchtower, a readout of the planet shows a pattern to the earthquakes. Thousands of alien ships, like the one Batman encounters in Gotham, are heading towards the planet. Well, we kind of see, of course, we talked a little bit about Aquaman, but big thing is, they're not the alien ship that landed in Gotham and the insects came out. That wasn't a coincidence. That was something. The reason why the Kindred, I think, came out were called now the Purge.
Yeah. And it's interesting that would sort of establish that at least part of the Kindred would have to be in the Earth to be creating these seismic changes, but then also to have things coming from space. Too means they have to be sort of a cosmic type entity, and that's a pretty powerful thing to possess that many people and to attack superheroes like that. That is something. So I think they've seen these people before, the Kindred and the Purge, but also the Kindred can steal powers. It looks like they apparently can steal powers from members of the Justice League, like we saw it with Simon Baz and we saw it with the Flash. When they touch them, that energy, boom. But also brings them out of the trance. So maybe they can't quite touch the powers. They have to try to drain them somehow, some other way. Yeah, and it didn't seem to have much of a lasting effect on either Baz or the Flash, but it does beg the question, is that them reclaiming it? I mean, is that what they meant by the stolen thing? It seems like there wouldn't be much reason for the Kindred to release their hold on that group unless they got what they want. So that's even curiouser and curiouser, I'd say. Well, you thought of something else, that you were talking about a connection maybe between the Kindred and what we saw in Justice League Rebirth #1 with the red eyes and the way they had their thought bubbles, but also not only in Justice League, but in the Green Lantern titles. Yeah. Having the Kindred speak all in red text and the glowing red eyes and things, happening at the center of the Earth really draws to mind the Rage Tower from Green Lanterns that Atrocitus is creating. And I don't think the Kindred, the people possessed by the Kindred, don't seem nearly crazy enough to be on par with the the people infected with rage in Green Lanterns, but it's an interesting connection that I noticed. So it's sort of like almost stands to reason that Atrocitus could have hijacked almost one of those ships, and used that to get to the center of the Earth, because they haven't really explained that yet. At least we haven't got to it yet. Yeah, who knows? Bzz, bzz, bzz. Do you hear that buzzing noise? I don't. But Aquaman does again. Yeah. And this time we find out that he's been saved. He was protected by the Zodiac crystals, which was kind of weird. But then again, what's their purpose of these Zodiac crystals? Yeah, they get pretty prominently named and introduced in the comic, and they are, as Aquaman's laying there, they are in a perfect little circle around him. Right. And someone would either have to put those there, or they'd have to magically surround him all by themselves. So it'll be interesting to see what role they play in this, and even to find out what's speaking to Aquaman. Right. Because one of the things I thought of too was back with the old JLA comic in the 90s, when their first story arc was against the Hyper Clan, which was a group of white Martians. And as it turns out, white Martians are actually descended from fish. So Aquaman could actually, he couldn't communicate with them, but he could actually induce seizures in them by passing his thoughts into them. Okay. So it's possible these aliens might share a connection with fish of some type, which might explain the thought, the fact that he can sense their thoughts like that.
While we're down in Atlantis, what were the Kindred doing? Were they combining into one big?
That was kind of crazy. That was kind of crazy into the big, the big Gestalt water person. That was pretty nuts.
Yeah, that was. I wanted to hear a transforming sound like.
Yeah.
But is that kind of what the Kindred look like when they are all together? Is that their true form?
Who knows? Yeah, that. And it'll be interesting to see, especially since that was just with Atlanteans. When we noticed, at least with the Green Lanterns in China, the people possessed by the Kindred kind of started to stack up on themselves just to get to him, at least. Which kind of brought to mind, like, zombie movies and stuff. I mean, that may have been them just trying to get to him. They might not have been able to use the Atlanteans' powers to do that, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was. It was unexpected.
Yeah.
And then unexpected at the end, but not quite, is after they look at the patterns of these earthquakes, there's a definite pattern there. So Batman goes to recruit Superman. He doesn't trust Superman because that's not his Superman, but he also, I guess, I don't know, if you don't trust somebody, send them to the center of the earth.
Yeah. I think Batman doesn't have that many options anymore.
Right.
He needs a Superman, and there's only one. And the fact that it's not the Superman he knew personally, that doesn't really matter right now at this point to Batman. So.
Yeah, I think this Justice League 1 and 2 is building up to a big event, and they're laying little pieces here and getting the story kind of going. So that's been interesting so far to see. The dynamic with Cyborg being the quarterback, as he talked about his old football days, but being the quarterback of information, and then the development of Simon and Jessica as the Green Lanterns, Batman being Batman, Aquaman hearing the buzzing, and Wonder Woman be called a pretended god. I think there's a lot of framework with the Justice League. They each have their own little story beat, and it isn't too. Sometimes you get too many story beats, and it's very confusing. But this one seems to be going at a good pace.
Yeah. This really isn't enough characters to bog us down with too many different paths, and it's a lot of action in a lot of those. And I was really, really happy that Aquaman's seeing that much action. He's in pretty deep down there. Now, I mean, no pun not intended, but he's.
Thank you for watching our exclusive YouTube and Facebook coverage, review, discussion of Justice League number 1 and Justice League number 2. If there's any comic books you want us to talk about and discuss in the future, drop us a line at Delve Into the Void's YouTube and Facebook page. Thanks for watching.